Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to make smooth edits on Video Star. I'm going to show you what I usually do to make my edits more smooth, and I hope it's going to help you all, of course, so let's get started right away. So let's go to multi-layer, and I'm going to add some mirror, and then go to edit keyframes, and I'm going to use a spin transition, but you can do any transition you want, but I'm just doing a spin transition. So first of all, I recommend to start your transition somewhere at the beginning or at the total beginning. I usually start my edit at the total beginning of the clip because I think that's more smooth, or a few frames further, but I wouldn't recommend to start your transition at the middle of the clip. That's not gonna look smooth at all, so somewhere at the beginning is good, or at the total beginning. Then go to the last frame of your clip and make your transition. Okay, once you've done that, we're going to make a graph, of course, because this is not what we want. So go to custom graph, and now we're going to make the graph. And this is what I always do for my graphs. I'm going to the frame before the last frame. I'm going to click on the plus sign, and I'm sliding it down, not too far because that's not going to be smooth, but I'd say around here or a bit more down. And then go back 1 or 2 frames, click on the plus sign again, and slide it up. And I'm noticing that I want it more up, so I'm gonna do it more up. And this one as well, or it's going below this line, and that's not what I want. Okay, so now we have made this graph, and I'm going to play it. I just want it more up. I'm always adjusting my graphs a lot. If you watch me edit, you'll know that. But yeah, I think this looks good. And I'm also going to do a zoom out transition. So I'm going to start it with a zoom out, and at the end I want it to end. So at the end I'm going to set a keyframe for zoom. I'm going to the beginning of my clip, and I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to make a graph. Go to the first frame of your clip, set it, and click on the plus sign, and slide up. Not too far again. And then go 1 or 2 frames further, and then click on the plus sign and slide it down. I'm going to do it 1 frame further, so I'm just going to slide it to the right. And then this is usually the graph that I have for, and then this is the graph that you have when you want to end a transition. And I'm going to make it a little more. And then we have made this. And I definitely recommend to add tracking blur if you have the Cinema Pro Pack, of course. It gives the edit a blur, and that makes the edit more smooth. I'm going to look if this is okay. I'd say a little more down. I think that looks good. And as you can see, we have made this really smooth transition. Or it's not totally done yet because we have to do the other half of the spin. But yeah, it looks really good, I think. And then I'm going to end my spin transition, and I'm going to do the exact same thing as I did with the zoom out transition, but now I'm just going to do a the end of the spin transition. So I'm going to add mirror. I'm going to the total end of my clip, set a keyframe for the spin, go back to the beginning. I'm going to make my transition. And now I'm going to make my graph, and this is the exact same graph as we did for the zoom out transition. Because this is always the graph that you use when you end a transition. And I'm going to add tracking blur, of course. And I'm going to watch it. I think it looks really smooth, and I think it's really smooth. Now I'm going to show you how you can make smooth 3D transitions and how I always do it. If you watch my Watch Me edits, then you've noticed that I also use this graph a lot. So here are some 3D transitions that I made in my edits, and as you can see, they look pretty smooth. And I use that graph that I just showed you a lot in this. I also create a lot of masters, and I'm now going to show you how you all do that and how to use that graph and how to make that graph. For a 3D transition, I usually merge my clips, and that's what I'm going to do now. And I'm going to add these so they are in the length of the whole clip. So now I've made one long clip, and I have put the photos in it so they're on the whole clip. And then I'm going to multi-layer, and usually I use a green screen for 3D transitions, and of course enable 3D. And I'm going to add a photo, and I'm just going to pick a simple shape, like let's say a cube. Then we're going to add a keyframes, and I'm just going to start with a simple zoom out. So I'm just going to like make a simple zoom out transition, and then I'm just going to use the same grass that we just did. And I'm also going to make it spin, so I'm just going here and do the same thing as the zoom out, but just a spin. And now we don't put these keyframes on the very end of the clip because these two clips are merged together, so then it's not gonna look good. But now I want this cube to go away, and for another shape to come in. And how I'm gonna do that, I want the other shape to come in on the half of the clip, so let's say around here. And then I want this cube to go away. If you're gonna use this graph, then it's not gonna look good. Then it's not gonna look smooth. So that's why I use that graph. And how you use it is actually really simple. If a part of the graph is horizontal, it goes slow, and if it goes vertical, it's fast. And in this graph, you see it goes from slow to fast to slow. And that's what I usually use with 3D shapes if I have multiple scenes merged together, because that just looks so much better. So what I'm gonna do, let's say I want it to go fast here. So that means here I want the transition to happen. So this is the middle. And I'm going to use this, by the way. So if this is the middle, I'm going, let's say, back to here. And I'm going to put a keyframe over there. And if this was the middle, then when it goes back to slow, that should be around here. So then I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it to 47, I think. And then we're going to custom graph, and now we're going to make this graph. And I just showed you the example, and it's actually really easy how to make it. At first it may be really hard, but once you've done it a few times, it's actually really easy. So first we are going to the very beginning, and we're going to set a it's not a keyframe, really, it just press that plus sign and make the line like on this line. So just move it to the right and down. Then go further a few frames and click on the plus sign again. I'm gonna move it a little further. Okay, so then you have this, and then go, if you are here, then go not to the very end, but let's say a few frames before the end. So let's say around there. Click on the plus sign again and move it up and a bit to the left. And then go further a few frames again. Slide this up, and then you can slide this more up as well. And I'm going to adjust this a bit, so, and you can adjust it however you want it until you think it's good. At this point it goes fast and then it goes slow again. So it starts slow and it goes fast and then it goes slow again. And that's the whole point of this graph. And now I'm going to make another zoom out transition, because I want this also to zoom out at that point, but because I also used zoom here, I'm going to have to do that in a master here. I can understand that it's going to be really annoying to keep making all these graphs over and over again. Well, it's really easy. You can just create a preset for them. Just go here and go to share and share it, and then you can give it a name. I'm just going to name it example 0. And then click next, and then save to photo library. And then if you make the next transition, well, when you have to use this graph, then you can just import it, and then you don't have to make it all over again. But now I also want this zoom out transition, so I'm just gonna remember which points I should have, 1, 9 and 0, 8. So then I'm gonna create a master, and here I had a zoom. Here I wanted my zoom to start, and here's when I want it to end. So I'm gonna decrease it, and then I'm going to custom graph again, and I made a preset, so I'm gonna import it, so then I don't have to make it all over again. And then it should look like that. And then I'm going to import my next photo, and another shape. I'm going to choose, I'm going for a star. And then I'm going to edit keyframes. I'm just gonna adjust the star for let's start with that. So what I'm going to do now, I want my star to rotate from this, and I'm going to move it up there. I'm going to move it up there. And we're going to do the exact same thing as we did with this, but then with the star, and I'm just using position instead of zoom. So I started it at 6, and I'm going to use path or position, and I'm going to set a keyframe for that. And I usually, when it starts, I pick straight, and I'm going to the point where this one ended as well, and that was here. And then I'm moving this back to its original size, and I'm moving this down. And then that happens. And I'm just gonna import the graph because we want the exact same graph. Oh yeah, and if this shows up, then always go for stretch. And then it should look like this. And now I see that this happens, so I'm just gonna make the depth bigger. 18, okay. And now I want my transition to end with a simple zoom spin thing with the star. So I'm going to here around there, and I'm going to set a keyframe for zoom and for spin. Like this is around this is around the middle. And we're gonna rotate it and zoom it in. And if you wanted to zoom more in, then just make it bigger with your fingers, and then I can delete the thing of the position because that always happens. And then we're going to make this graph again. Of course, you can make presets for this as well. You can make presets for whatever graph or transition you want. And then it looks like this. And then it looks like this. And now I'm just gonna, normally I add a overlay in the background, but now I'm just gonna make it black. So I'm just gonna make the background black. Unfortunately, you can't add tracking blur on 3D shapes, but VideoStar recently added a effect and transform called VideoStar Motion Blur. You can add this to your 3D shapes or to your normal transitions. You can do it whatever you want instead of tracking blur. I usually use these settings. I have blend set to 100. This is to both, and blur not too much of the blur because then it's not gonna look good anymore. I'd say around here. And then it looks like this. It looks even more smooth. And you can do this to whatever transition you want. You can do it to your whole edit if you want it. Thank you so much for watching to this video. I love you all so much and see you next time. Bye!